main exposure to it had been 50 Shades of Grey up till that point, and that was about it. And so like I understood what it was. I didn't understand how deep it was going to go once I asked that question.
Why are you up?
Because I got some important shit going on here. What do you think?
Boom, the world class.
But yeah,
there was that transformative period, and I'm sure you're always transforming, both of you, as we all are. But what in that period of time where you'd recognized, okay, it seems like we're better off when we play these defined roles. I feel more like a man, she feels more like a woman. Like, where did you find this information? What was this process like for you when you decided, okay, I'm going to present this to my wife? We've been married for almost a decade now. She's used to this other entire lifestyle and way of being, right? I imagine you had established identities within your marriage at that point, individual identities. Like, you had a set life, and it was good. It was good. So what was that like for you when you were like, okay, I want something to change? Where did you start? What was that inner reconciliation like for you?
So that, like, asking Dawn to become my submissive was a part of that reconciliation. It was a part of that growth process. It wasn't the beginning of it. I had already gotten myself into much better physical shape. I had started to take a lot more responsibility in my life, and that was another part of where I started to see, like, the more I did that, the more relaxed and calm she seemed to be, because what I understand now is that my masculine was helping her feminine feel safer because I was being stronger. And as I was more capable, she could allow me to take the lead more. And so this relationship dynamic and asking her to join it with me was a step in the process of growth for me. It wasn't the beginning of it. But dominance and submission is something that I knew about. It wasn't a concept that was foreign to me, but I had never lived in any kind of a relationship that I'd never been a dominant. I'd never done these things. I just knew a lot about it, a lot of fantasies, a lot of curiosities and interests.
Actually, thank you. I actually want to point out a few things that he said. It may seem corny and maybe cliche, but when he explains that his masculine helped her feminine, those of us has been initiated and trained in certain schools, we understand that that's the proper order. Masculinity is law and structure. Femininity is order and process. So once you have a structure that gives order, like you can't have an order in no building and no type of environment and controlled environment. So a lot of what will help with understanding this dominant and submissive relationship is she'll be able to be in a place where she can just be her creative, helpful self, and you take full responsibility. Like, young lady I talked to, everything, like I said, everything is my fault, everything on me, and it's a relief. It's like every time I say that, she'd be just falling in love. Like, yeah, I don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about anything. Everything is my fault. Everything is on me. I take full ownership. But that comes with stuff. And if I'm taking full ownership, that means I own you, and they're fine with that. You think they're not, but that, like, enough of them are fine with that. And that allows them to, what y'all say in the space, rest in their femininity. She can't rest if she got to get up and do your job.
And to put it even to take it even to a term that a level that is a little bit easier to associate with, it's like a father who has a daughter, right? And he takes her to the playground. right? She is going to look over her little shoulder constantly to make sure her daddy's sitting at that bench reading his book or looking over her. She's always going to be checking in to make sure she's safe. And she's going to play freely in the jungle gyms, and she's going to have a good time. And then when she gets to the monkey bar, she's going to need help. So she knows daddy is there. She looks over her shoulder. She calls out daddy, and he comes. He holds her little feet. He encourages her. She can go across, yada, yada, yada. She does it. Versus, her brother, who just is all over the place. And the leadership or dominance that he needs to get from his father is different than the daughter. The daughter is not going to be comfortable going into that playground unless she's given us the authority through her power source,
right?
To know that she's good. Go have fun. You sure, daddy? Yes, go have fun. I'm watching you. It's okay. And you'll see little girls. You'll see that behavior in little girls, especially like if the father raises his voice. You see how little girls they'll just start crying. They'll just start crying.
They do a lot.
They're not even in trouble. They're not even the one who's gonna get in trouble. But just to hear her father's tone go into a different direction, it makes her shiver inside. And so, right there, obviously, a little girl doesn't understand her feminine power, but as a man who now sees his wife and understands that, her femininity needs to be empowered. And the fact that he was draining her femininity by asking her, or society or the dynamic that they used to have as a vanilla couple, her having to show up masculine. And he said, yes, she was she worked for him, she was great. She was efficient. She was all these things. But when they got home, she had no energy for him. She didn't have energy for her family. And he had to, determine what was more important and what makes my wife happy.
It goes to what Jimmy said. She said, yes, it flows once you have a defined role and structure.
Absolutely. I would believe it. And Jenny's married with a beautiful family. God bless her family. And I'm sure she completely gets it, even if her and her husband are, didn't go through the BDSM experience, but it's relatable.
Yeah.
It's relatable, especially if you have a successful marriage. You now know what the equation that you have that you can share with people around you to show them what could help them work it out. Because, I even like the fact that he says that he was familiar with BDSM, but it was mostly because of the fantasies and the fetish side,
Right.
So,
it's heavily compartmentalized into just the fetish, but the structure is pretty much it's universal law. You can
and
see
it's
it
liberating. It's liberating your entire soul. That he as a man could walk the earth knowing that she as a wife knows her role, and he doesn't have to worry about that. He's not bugging out on things. He's not checking for things that a regular guy who doesn't have this power structure in his home deals with, or a woman who doesn't have this power structure in her home, they deal with. And then they have ineffective relationships. They waste each other's time that they can't get back by being together for years and years and years, really, really destroying one another, really masochistic in the wrong way with no benefit. So I love everything he says. I love how he says it, because he just puts it into a perspective that me as a submissive, I can never give, our amazing audience the masculine dominant expression of this, in all these episodes. So I'm really happy that he's really touching that aspect of the manhood and the evolution of your masculinity when you put the pressure on yourself. To, when you put the pressure on yourself, and then you can't make up excuses and you hold yourself accountable, because a dominant man is not into people holding him accountable. He'd rather check himself before anybody even notices that he he might have been slipping. You know?
Amen.
So is I'm just trying to see if there's anything worth highlighting in the chat, but I guess I'm having a good time in there. But let's keep playing the video. And thank you. Please, Noble, absolutely, please jump in and stop it and participate, because when I was watching this, I was thinking about you and having you, how sometimes I've turned to you to help me put certain ideas or a proper verbiage into a discussion. I wanted you to see this so that when, we have people come up on the panel, that you could really, talk to the men in the way that men talk to each other. Having this gentleman, share, his marriage and relationship with this beautiful woman, who's, look at her, look at how she looks at him.
Yeah.
Look at how she looks at him. You know what I mean? It's like,
no, you're right. Look at that.
It's like, oh my God, it's like everything is there. Just everything is there. And I really love the fact that he took his fitness seriously, because I've said that before, like, dominant men usually are not drinkers. They'll have a glass of wine or a nice bourbon or cigar or something like that. They're not heavy drug users. They're not going to be doing coke. They're not going to smoke weed. They're not going to pop any pills. Most of them, you see them with a nice glass of wine. They have a cigar in hand, and they wear a sports jacket. You know what I mean? Like, they might wear a sport jacket with some Air Force One, but they have a sports jacket on, and so, oh, Miguel has some Long Island. Hi, Jay, you're dangerous on them Long Islands, girl. I have to find out what brand that is. I gotta try it. But let the video play some more if you don't mind. Yeah, look, Jenny Morena, she said it. I know she noticed that too, that she looks at him. She looks at him. I noticed that too. She refers to him for direction and permission. She absolutely is, like, you see that. I see it in her eyes, the collar she's wearing, just the whole thing. It's just like, it's hot. This is a hot couple.
Fact.
Main exposure to it had been 50 Shades of Grey up till that point, and that was about it. And so, like, I understood what it was. I didn't understand how deep it was going to go once I asked that question.
All right. I'm sorry, I got lost in a train of thought of just all that goodness I just heard. Washed.
They would be fools to resist my divine power.
His death was a necessary loss. Soon I will have a new apprentice, one far younger and more powerful.
Remember, when a king is loved as I am, much can be accomplished.
We didn't do this because we like you. We did this because we are you.
Boom, the world class.